Imagine living in a home where one heavy iron key could unlock every door in the house, or where the roof was built specifically for gazing out at the sea, waiting for a ship that might never return. Here are 10 old home features that have faded into history, Part 3. Long before digital intercoms allowed us to communicate between rooms, wealthy Victorian homes relied on an acoustic device known as the speaking tube. Appearing in homes as early as the 19th century, these were essentially networks of tin or galvanized iron pipes running through the walls, connecting the master bedroom or parlor to the kitchen or servants' quarters. At each end of the pipe was a mouthpiece, often made of porcelain, wood, or ivory, which sometimes featured a whistle. To use it, you would blow into the tube, causing the whistle at the other end to shriek and alert the staff. Once the other person removed the whistle to listen, you could speak in a normal voice and the sound would travel clearly through the air in the pipe. While they were a marvel of low-tech engineering, speaking tubes became obsolete with a widespread adoption of the electric telephone and electronic buzzer systems in the early 20th century. Today, you might still find the capped-off ends of these tubes painted over in the hallways of historic renovations. If you live in a house built before 1940, you've likely noticed the keyholes on the bedroom and bathroom doors are not the small slits we see today, but large, open shapes that you can peek through. These doors operated with warded locks, opened by the iconic skeleton key. These keys were simple, featuring a cylindrical shaft and a flat-toothed bit at the end. The lock inside the door, called a mortise lock, was a heavy iron box containing a simple spring bolt. The wards were obstructions inside the lock that prevented the wrong key from turning. However, the security was minimal. A generic skeleton key could often open every door in the house, and sometimes the neighbors' doors too. They were designed for privacy, not security. As crime rates and security concerns rose, they were replaced by the complex pin tumbler locks we use today, like Yale locks, leaving us with drawers full of cool-looking rusty keys that don't open anything. If you walk into a home built between 1900 and 1930, you might reach for a light switch and find 2 small buttons instead of a toggle. These are push-button switches, the standard for early electric lighting. The design was simple and tactile. You pushed the top button, often inlaid with genuine mother-of-pearl, to turn the lights on, and the bottom black button to turn them off. The mechanism inside gave a loud, satisfying click or snap that is distinct from the soft plastic of modern switches. At the time, electricity was a luxury, and the switch plates were often made of solid brass with decorative embossing to highlight this modern miracle. As electrical codes evolved and cheaper, quieter toggle switches were invented in the mid-20th century, the push-button style faded away. However, because of their high build quality, many of these 100-year-old switches are still functioning perfectly in old bungalows today, cherished by homeowners who love that nostalgic click. By the era of open-concept living, we often forget that Victorian and Edwardian homes were designed with strict separation in mind. The solution to flexible space was the pocket door. Unlike standard hinged doors that swing open and take up floor space, pocket doors were mounted in a top-hung track and slid seamlessly into a hollow cavity or pocket inside the adjacent wall. They were typically used in pairs to separate the parlor from the dining room, allowing a host to throw them open dramatically to reveal dinner was served. These doors were usually massive, made of solid oak or mahogany, and featured beautiful recessed hardware. However, they fell out of favor for a practical reason. They were a maintenance nightmare. The tracks, often made of wood or soft metal, would warp or jump, and if a door came off the track inside the wall, it was nearly impossible to fix without tearing down the plaster. While they are seeing a small revival in modern architecture for space saving, the heavy rumble of an original 1890s pocket door is a sound unique to history. In the 1920s and 40s, efficiency was the buzzword for household management. With smaller homes and no dedicated laundry rooms, architects began hiding utilities inside the walls. One of the most common features from this era is the built-in ironing board cabinet. Usually located in the kitchen or a central hallway, this looked like a long, shallow cupboard door. When opened, a wooden ironing board would fold down on a hinge, with a specialized leg dropping to support it. The cabinet often had shelves for the iron and starch, and some even featured a dedicated heat-resistant metal plate to rest the hot iron. It was a brilliant space saver that acknowledged the reality of daily life. Ironing was a constant, never-ending chore. As permanent press fabrics became popular and homes grew larger with dedicated utility rooms, the need for a wall-mounted board vanished. Now, these cabinets are often painted shut or converted into spice racks. In the late 1800s, middle-class Americans wanted the look of aristocratic European homes, which featured elaborate hand-carved plaster ceilings. However, skilled plaster artisans were expensive and slow. The American industrial solution was the pressed tin ceiling. Sheets of tin plate were stamped with massive steam-powered hammers into intricate patterns of vines, flowers, and geometric shapes. These sheets were then nailed directly to the wooden furring strips on the ceiling and painted, usually in glossy white, to mimic plaster. They were fire-resistant, durable, and, most importantly, affordable. You would often see them in kitchens, pantries, and commercial storefronts. Unfortunately, during the World War II scrap metal drives, many were torn down, and in the post-war era, the trend shifted toward drop ceilings to hide ductwork. Today, finding an original rust-free tin ceiling is a jackpot for preservationists. Before municipal water systems reached every home, and before deep well drilling was affordable, many houses relied on cisterns. If you look in the basement or attic of a pre-1920s home, you might find a massive tank or a strange brick-lined circular hole in the floor. This was the cistern, a reservoir designed to catch and store rainwater from the roof gutters. While well water was often hard, filled with minerals that made it difficult to create soap lather, rainwater was soft and prized for washing clothes and hair. A system of diverters in the downspouts would direct the water into these tanks. In some homes, a hand pump at the kitchen sink was dedicated specifically to the cistern water. As modern plumbing and water treatment plants made clean, soft water available from the tap, these giant tanks were abandoned. Many were filled with rubble and capped with concrete to prevent anyone from falling in, leaving only a mysterious manhole cover in the basement floor as evidence. Distinct from the coal cellar or the general basement, the root cellar was a survival tool for preserving the harvest. Before refrigeration, keeping vegetables like potatoes, carrots, turnips, and squash edible through the winter required a specific environment: cool, dark, and humid. A root cellar was usually a room partitioned off in the deepest part of the basement, or sometimes an entirely separate structure dug into a hillside. Unlike the rest of the basement, which might have a concrete floor, the root cellar often retained a dirt floor to regulate humidity levels, preventing the vegetables from drying out and shriveling. Wooden bins and shelves lined the walls, filled with sand or straw to insulate the crops. The smell of a root cellar is unmistakable, an earthy, damp scent of soil and resting vegetation. With the arrival of electric refrigerators and supermarkets that sold fresh produce year-round, the necessity of hoarding 500 pounds of potatoes in a dirt room faded, and these spaces were converted into wine cellars or storage. One of the most romanticized features of American coastal architecture is the Widow's Walk. Found primarily on 19th century homes along the New England coast, this was a railed, flat platform built onto the very peak of the roof, often surrounding a cupola or chimney. The popular legend is tragic. They were built for the wives of sea captains to endlessly pace, scanning the horizon for ships that might never return. While this makes for a great ghost story, architectural historians suggest a more practical origin. These platforms were likely built to provide quick access to the chimney in case of a chimney fire, a common and devastating occurrence in wood-heated homes. They would pour buckets of sand or water down the flue to extinguish the blaze. Regardless of their true purpose, the harsh weather and constant leaks led to many of them being removed or roofed over in the 20th century. In the dining rooms of wealthy Victorian and Edwardian homes, the hosts never had to shout for service. Instead, they relied on a discreet piece of technology hidden right under their feet, the floor call button. Usually located under the dining table, beneath the rug, This was a spring-loaded button wired into the floor. The lady of the house would know exactly where to position her foot. When she stepped on the hidden lump in the rug, it would ring a buzzer in the kitchen or pantry, signaling the servants that it was time to clear the plates or bring the next course. It allowed for a seamless, magical dining experience where needs were met without a word being spoken. As the era of live-in domestic staff ended after World War II, these buttons were disconnected. Today, new homeowners often find them when ripping up old carpets, a small brass mystery in the middle of the floor, waiting to summon a servant who is no longer there. If you're a fan of old home features, be sure to click on this video right here